So I neglected, not on purpose of course, my gouache palette for about a month or so. And when I came back to it, I found it like this. I tend to be pretty clean when picking up colors, so there isn't much cross-color contamination, just a little bit here and there. But the biggest problem is all the mold that grew, and that is a big issue. The third problem also, other than color contamination and mold, is that some of these wells are starting to dry out. So I felt guilty and decided to bring back life to my beloved palette and take you through the process. The first thing I do is to get rid of the mold. The mold that worries me is the one that shows as those dark spots or even a fluffy hairy thing on top of the paint, so yeah, disgusting. When that happens, I just get my palette knife or spatula and get rid of all the paint in that well and flush it down the toilet. I do that with every single well that shows some kind of, mysterious growth. Then, secondly, I reactivate all the paints that look dried out. Here I spray water and stir each well until I get the consistency I like. I do this even with the wells that look fine, just in case the paint is sedimenting and seated in separate layers within the well. So I just keep spraying regular water and mixing each well separately. At this point, I also refill whatever color might be running low. While doing this, I try to remember not to overfill the wells. Try to fill them maybe 2/3 of the way or so. This way, when you close the palette, it won't make a mess or, spilling over into other wells or even outside the palette. The third step is to clean the palette itself. When I come back to the actual palette, I clean the mixing space, but especially the wells. I take a stiff brush and try to clean all the borders of each of the wells, so that when I put the rubber lid back on, the paint doesn't spill or get stuck or create any messes. After all this, you might be wondering what is the best way to keep your paints in a good condition. You don't want to go through this process very often, right? Some people like to add clove bud oil or other substances. I personally don't like to add any foreign stuff to the paint, as I feel like, it might change the paint's composition and how it works. So the best tip that I can give you to keep your palette in a top condition is just to use it often. Now, I know not everyone has the time to paint on a daily basis, but at least try to use your palette once a week. This way you won't only go through your art supplies at a speed, quick enough that they won't have time to grow mold or spoil or even dry out, but you will also have your skills improve. Now, if for whatever reason you cannot paint that often, well, my suggestion is to open your palette, let it dry out for some 20 minutes or so, then spray some water on top of it so it regains any moisture it might have lost during that time, and close it back again. One thing to keep in mind is that if you find yourself doing this trick too often, you might want to reconsider if you actually need a wet palette altogether. After all, your paints are the safest when they are inside their tubes. A second alternative is to put together a dry palette, which I did some time ago and I have enjoyed using a few times already. You just have to spray some water on top of it to reactivate the paints before using it, if you're looking for maximum opacity, and yeah, you'll be fine and dandy. If you want to learn more about my secrets related to gouache, feel free to check this video here. Also feel free to like and subscribe. Have a good one. Take care.